Guys, how you going? I the other day I've just realised I've got a rear axle seal leaking on my Toyota Hilux. I've got it apart here. That drip is just the brake line at the moment. I'm going to do a brake line flush anyways. But yeah, as you can see, oil everywhere, even up in the guards. So yeah, got to give that a big clean out. But I just wanted to do a quick hyperlapse of the process. But yeah, so all I've basically done, taken off the wheel. I have taken off this drum. What I did, I've messed up this guard a little bit, but I had to get 2 pry bars in there. Pry bars in all around because it was sort of stuck on. And I sort of had to pry it out, and I wedged one of the pry bars up behind that, and I just tapped it with a hammer, and it eventually just popped off. Yeah, so we're gonna get into it. I've just loosened these nuts in behind here, as you can see, and then once I get them off, I'll be able to pull it out, and then we'll be able to do that seal. Alright, two's I see you in the hyperlapse. I thought I'd just quickly show you this. So I've got those axle nuts out, and the axle can slide out now. The only thing that's stopping it is the actual brake cable. So what you got to do is, it's actually a tricky little setup. And you got to pull this forward and push that up so that you create enough slack, and there's like millimeters in it, but you're able to slide that middle, you're able to slide this, that middle rod off, one of them. And yeah, it's proven to be a bit difficult, but we'll get there. So I've gotten her out, and what I actually had to do was that hole, that slit with the 2 holes right there, is actually where the brake cable came through, and that's what's got that little hook on the end that goes on this other end of that rod, that connector rod right there. What I had to do was actually remove that. I wasn't able to just push it together and remove that middle rod. So it's just 2 12mm bolts, and you pull that out. And yeah, and then that was the last bit, and then the whole assembly slid out. And look at that, like I just slid it out, and that spring's already fallen down out of that seal. A little bit milky, obviously, because I still was forward driving on it. But one thing that I will point out is this. So as I was pulling it out, I noticed that there was just like probably a bit more play than normal, and yeah, you can probably see that and hear it. So this rear wheel bearing is absolutely rooted. So we're gonna have to get another one of them before we put it back in. Otherwise, yeah. But yeah, anyways, so we'll get this one out, and I'll walk you through putting the new seal back in. I did notice this really thick stuff here, and this oil is yeah, a lot thicker than it's supposed to be. I think that's partially because it is being exposed to the elements for that little gap in the seal, but I did a river crossing, and a little bit of water got in there, so it's got that bit of a grey colour to it. But yeah, we'll get this seal out and chuck the new one in. So what you want to do is you want to put something in there without actually touching that back surface, like scraping it as you pull it out. So all I'm going to do is put the tip of the screwdriver right on that lip and just give it a good old push. And Might need to chuck a hammer on this one, so I'll just pop the camera down. And yeah, so all you're doing is just making sure that that metal tip doesn't scratch, otherwise that'll make another surface that can leak from between the actual seal and the mating surface, because it's a press fit. So yeah. That just shot out and I got oil all over me. But yep, that's in. And as you can see, there is no that little spring has fallen out and it is just worn super thin. But you can see on the inside where I've hit it, just on that lip there, and then that way we haven't damaged that surface. So here we have the new bearing, and you can straight away see the difference in those. That wall there, much thicker, and yeah, you can sort of see, if you can see on the inside of that little spring retainers in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place this one, so there's a beveled edge, so it should just sit in there sorta. And then all I'm going to do is I'm not going to worry about getting a piece of wood for this one. I'm just going to very gently tap around the edges and until it seats. You can go around that. And just hammer that one flush with the surface there. You want to make sure you don't go too far in. But if it's a little bit out in certain spots, it doesn't really matter, because the this surface here, once you put some serious aggregators on these ones here to make sure that they don't come out, that will then seal up against that nicely. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it. So that seal's replaced. That should be fine, that seal. I'm going to drain the oil. Actually, I'm going to leave the oil in because I've got to leave it for... Actually, no, I'm going to drain it. I'm going to drain it. I'm going to go into town, get the new wheel bearing, and then I'll chuck the new wheel bearing in. Then I'll chuck it all back together. She should be right. Just a bit of an update. I've just given Burson Auto Spares a ring, and they can't get. They've got the bearing in, but it's at their workshop. So I've ordered it in, and it's gonna. They said it's either gonna be here late this afternoon or tomorrow morning, ready for pickup. So I'm gonna end it here. It's going to be just a 2-part series, because I'll end it here and then I'll chuck the new bearing in and put it all back together tomorrow. And yeah, so thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a like, and if you want to see more stuff, subscribe and turn on your notifications, because with this Luxy, it's causing me a bit of problems, you know. but there's always stuff to do on it, and I'm always getting parts, so there's always going to be content. And once the majority of the drive line and like the major stuff is fixed, like most likely going to have to do the bearing on the other side. The seal on the other side's all good, but I didn't actually check that wobble in the bearing. Now this side was pretty bad because when I was pulling it out, I noticed it straight away, and I don't remember noticing it straight away on the other side, so it might not have been that bad. But yeah, so once the major things, like once that bearing's back in, I've got to do bushing and the needle bearing that goes in the hub on the inside for the CV. Got to get new ones of those, and that should be it for driveline. Because and I got to get at the moment it's pretty bodged up, it's pretty dodgy. But two things to fix. So I've got these. I've snapped two of the bolts in there. Actually trying to undo them, even though they are a little 12 mil. They did get stuck. So they snapped off. And on this side, I'll show you underneath. Oh, you can't really see it, but on the inside of there's a I pulled this CV out to replace it because it had snapped on the spine. But in there's supposed to be it's like a short bushing. It's about that wide, and then past that, on the inside of the axle spindle, there's a needle bearing. And that needle bearing is just fully being minced. But I've only been able to find them from Toyota Genuine Parts, and you can bet that they charge me an arm and a leg for the bushing, the bearing, and the inner axle seal, because it all has to be replaced at the same time. And yeah, just to give you a bit of an idea, it was up around $500 per side. Now, I have put a post up on Facebook, on my Facebook page, and a lot of people think that you can get the bearing aftermarket, and you can get the seal you can get the needle bearing. They weren't sure about the bushing. But you can also get the seal aftermarket as well. Now, I looked for ages, like usually when I search up a part like rear axle seal for Hilux, it'll pop straight up for eBay. And I searched for ages trying to find what it was even called, because I was calling it inner hub assembly, inner hub bearing, and all that sort of stuff. And it's actually called a taconite assembly. Now that's a weird name, taconite. I've never heard of that before, but that's what it's called on the Toyota website when I was able to get a parts diagram. But yeah, it's called a taconite assembly, and it's a bit of a bugger. Usually when you snap your CV, that boot slides out, and it just allows dirt and shit to get all in there. And that's what's happened with mine, and with sand and that. I didn't realise my CV was snapped. Because I got a front auto locker, I still had 3-wheel drive, so it didn't really seem like I only had 2-wheel drive. And because it was only on beach, can't really notice when the locker's engaged or not anyways. So sand had been getting in there, junk had been getting in there, and it's just eating it all out. And so yeah, I've got to replace that. Other than that, I'm not going to replace that straight away. That front hub with the snap bolts, the 12mm bolts, that I've been driving on that for a while now, and going on a 4-wheel drive, had no problems. And without the bearing and the bushing on the driver's side that I was just talking about, that is all minced, so it's actually not there anymore. The bushing's not there. The bearings not there. The seal's there still to keep obviously junk out of the seal's broken, but it is sealing well enough to stop stuff going into my wheel bearings. And yeah, the wheel bearings have been done. But yeah, I'm going to keep driving. Once I get this rear bit done, then I'm going to do some more. I'm going to put together a 4-drive video, because it is a 4-drive car. I don't use it for really much else other than 4-drive and work. That's what I built it for. It's got a front. But yeah, she's just up on the jacks today, and I'll get some more forward driving content to you eventually within the next couple of weeks. I've got some little clips and some like photos and that of the Mount Louisa 4-drive tracks, which is my local 4-drive tracks. But you'll find them on my Instagram page, locked Luxy. And that's where I post like little clips and on my story and that. But yeah, I'm working on putting together a whole video. Currently in a 4-drive club, so hopefully whenever I go out with them, I'll be able to set up my camera and get some good clips for you guys. But that's it for part 1. And yeah, if you liked the video, chuck it a like. And if you want to see more of this Luxy's journey and the trips it goes on in the future, chuck it a subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you know exactly when I'm uploading, so you can keep up to date with it. But yeah, cheers.